How's it going, gamers? I'm Pruitt, this is Jim Davis, and today's WebDM subject has been requested multiple times. It is over multi-classing. So let's get to it. Man, that was just bleh. That was just bleh. Bleh?
I liked it.
I hated it. So Jim, multi-classing.
Multi-classing.
Multi-class.
Yes. This is one of those things about 5th edition that's a variant rule that a lot of people seem to assume. So if you go on a message forum or something like that,
Oh yeah.
it seems like multi-classing and feats are generally assumed. So obviously check with your DM first. For DMs, what you need to know about multi-classing. These characters will be more powerful. A lot of times what you get from 1 or 2 levels of another class are enough to boost your base class to the point where you have gone up into another category of effectiveness in the game.
Yeah.
That's just the case.
Yeah, you might, restrict yourself later on. Maybe you don't get as many ability increases.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't get as many those higher level abilities in whatever your main class is.
Right.
But you have 1 or 2 things that are now focused to a fine razor's edge.
Yes, focus to a fine razor's edge. And there's even ways to build a multi-class character where you're only giving up maybe 1 or 2 of the ability score increases.
Right.
They're maybe occurring at a different level than you would otherwise get them, but you're not giving up that much. So one of the first things I would advise DMs to do is keep ability scores tied with the classes and not the character level. Yeah. So for DMs familiar with 3rd edition, there's this idea that you have a character level, which is the total level of your character, and then your class level, which may not be the same. 10th level fighter, 10th level wizard is a 20th level character, even though they only have 10 levels in each of their classes. And so keep those ability scores with the classes and not with the character. There's some people who want to sort of flip them around, and I can see why players might want to say like, hey, I want my cake and eat it too sort of situation. But what you're giving up in not having as many ability score increases is usually much more effective by taking those classes. Classes in 5th edition tend to be front-loaded.
Yeah.
Which is why the 1 to 2 level dip into another class is usually pretty strong. So those are the things that DMs need to worry about. It means that your monsters are going to need to be tougher. Yeah. It means that you maybe need to include more monsters for the party members to deal with. And you might find that if you are used to running a basic game, single class characters, no multi-classing, and then you want to advance your game, as it were, start using some of those options that are in the player's handbook, not in the DMG, that your players might think, I want to try this kind of combo out. Those are some of the pitfalls you need to worry about.
Yeah, because you can, like you said, if you're used to just single class characters, a multi-class character is going to roll up and just knock an enemy out in like 1 hit, and you're just like, wait, what?
Right, what had happened? Yeah, I'm a paladin assassin, and you dump all of your divine smites into that first hit of combat, which is an automatic critical, so now they're doubled. Like, these are the kinds of things that multi-class characters can get up to, and the higher level they are and the more that they sort of work these combinations together, you can get some ridiculous things. Now, that said, it is fun. It is really fun to have those kind of characters and to play that level of game. But if you're not ready for it, it can be jarring. Yeah,
I mean, hey, look at my fighter Mystic Warrior,
right?
Rilvian, who was 10 levels Order of the Immortal, 10 level fighter, went champion. Went for the King Crit Fisher. Yeah. Fighting with 2 long swords.
2 long swords. Every time you hit, it's an opportunity for lethal strikes.
Lethal strike, which is 5 dice. And if I crit, that's 10 dice.
It's 10 dice.
And I'm already getting the psychic bonus of getting psychic dice added to each normal hit.
Yeah.
So I started pumping out an incredible number.
It was crazy.
For damage. I remember there was one fight there where I was One Punch Man.
Yeah.
I think I've said that before. But yeah, it's just like this enemy... dead. Next enemy. Dead.
I think between there was one round when I was keeping track of it for one of the main big monsters you guys were fighting. I think it might have been a Glabrazu or something, a big demon. And the party overall pumped out like 300 damage in a single round of combat.
Yeah.
And it's one of those moments where we're starting. That's when you're getting into like high 3rd edition level of effectiveness. And obviously your monsters aren't going to be able to stand that.
Yeah.
So if you find that kind of character is what your players are bringing to the table, maybe you give monsters max HP.
Yeah.
You're just like, how many hit points, how many hit dice do they have? Times whatever it is, that's their hit points.
Right.
So that they can survive more than a couple of rounds of combat. Maybe you boost their AC by a couple levels. But to get back to the player side of things for multi-classing, there's some things you want to keep in mind.
Right.
There's the 1 to 2 level dip. When do you take those 1 or 2 levels?
Well, for most classes, I mean, especially if you're a caster.
Yeah.
I mean, the number's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, 5. You want to make sure that you're taking in your base class at least 5 levels.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, so that gives you 3rd level spells for casters. That gives you your extra attack for most of the warrior classes.
Right.
Certainly by level 5, level 6 at the most. So if, let's say you're wanting to play a fighter blade singer. You're looking at the Blade Singer class and you're going, that looks pretty sweet, but I want proficiency in Constitution saves, the option to wear heavy armor, more martial proficiencies. You just like the feel of that. Or you can do the same with like a Blade Lock. With your Pact the Blade Ward Lock. Single dip of fighter is going to be good, but that fighter has to be taken at 1st level in order to get those proficiencies. Then you're pushing your access to 3rd level magic up by 1 level. You're not getting it until 6th. That's okay. You're not going to be that far behind when everybody else is 5th level getting their end of the tier abilities. You might be a little sad, but just wait another level and you'll get it. That's going to be fine. Take that 2nd level of fighter a little bit later down the road. Other classes like, say, the Bard, where the last 2 levels of Bard are really, frankly, kind of garbage, then you're not taking your dip until level 18.
Right.
Just going straight Bard, and then you look around and go, I don't like the last 2 abilities of Bard because they're not very inspiring, no pun intended. I just want something else.
You intend that.
You intended it. Maybe you dip 2 levels into Warlock, pick up Charisma damage to your Eldritch Blasts, and that's what you got. But by then, at level 18, if you're a Bard, chances are you're doing just fine, and it's like icing on the cake for those 2 Warlock levels.
Yeah.
Take them earlier to get more utility out of the Eldritch Blast and the invocations.
See a lot of also a lot of people. The reason the fighter is so great, it's great because a lot of builds you see are just like a 2-level dip into fighter. Because they just want to get action surge.
They want to get action surge, and action surge is just one of those abilities where why wouldn't anyone want this? It's the perfect Nova ability, and it's one of those where you see something like Assassin Fighter Paladins who can do a sick amount of damage go Nova.
In that first round, they action surge, all their attacks are crits, and then they decide to just burn all their spell slots on those.
That's great, that's fine, and for people who like a 5-minute adventuring day, that's okay, but then it's like, okay.
Can we take a rest?
Now you're done. Don't let them take a rest after that, DMs. No, don't let them take a rest after that.
Yeah. That's how you work around that.
Right. And so, like, those are the kinds of combinations that you get. So at our table, we've seen Assassin Rangers take out dragons in 1 or 2 rounds of combat.
Yeah, High Hawk was a badass.
High Hawk with his, I think he had both crossbow expert and sharpshooter. Mostly Ranger with a couple of levels of Rogue to get Assassin and some good sneak attack in there. And what he was doing, and this would obviously be post, I believe, 12th levels by the time he really got here, but it only got worse as the levels progressed.
Right.
He was taking out dragons like nobody's business. And so in those situations, your enemies are going to need cover. Against a character like that, they're going to need to take the dodge action, try to impose disadvantage on those hits. Other things that you can do with your characters, you can multi-class for more thematic reasons. Right. So maybe you take that 1st level in sorcerer because sorcerers are born, not made.
Right.
For the most part. And then
born with the magic inside them.
Born with the magic inside them, and then you do something else. Maybe you've got a dragonborn dragon sorcerer who dips into paladin because why not? And then you've got a divine smite fueled with your sorcerer spells and not the low number of paladin spells that you get.
Yeah, that can get kind of ridiculous.
It can get kind of ridiculous. And so I think that I love multi-classing because it opens up the options for play. You can look at a character and think of a bunch of different things that you can do.
Yeah, we talked about it in the Wizard show and the Cleric show.
Yeah.
But Antonius Stark. It was only a 2-level dip into Cleric, and it was 1st level Cleric, 5 levels of Wizard, 1 more level of Cleric, and then I had the Channel Divinity. I could max out my lightning every now and again. I had heavy armor. I mean, what more do you, I mean, that was a thematic choice.
That was a thematic choice. You got what you wanted, and a very effective character in terms of being a range damage dealer and being the support character that wizards can also be. A rogue who dips into warlock for Devil's Sight and Mask of Many Faces.
Yeah.
A cleric that dips into fighter for a bit more utility in combat and a bit more frontline oomph. I've got a character in mind. I haven't had a chance to really play it, which is the Paladin Ranger. Oath of Ancients and a Beastmaster, and he's a forest gnome who rides around on a dog, and it's a total rip-off of that character from Labyrinth.
Yeah.
But it's a fun character to play. Sir Pygmy Grump.
I was trying to think of his name. Yes.
It's his name, and he's a member of the Order of the Unicorn, and is a champion of goodness and righteousness.
Another great combo is the Shadow Monk Assassin.
The Shadow Monk Assassin is a ridiculous combo. I kind of think that there's a part of me that wants to play a Darkstalker Assassin. Yeah. And just get the improved dark vision that Darkstalker gives you, the advantage on initiative, advantage against opponents that haven't acted in the first round of combat. That's a kind of character that I could see. If I was going to play Out of the Abyss, if I was going to be a character in Out of the Abyss, that's the guy I'm playing.
Yeah.
And so that's just sort of the fun things that you can do with multi-classing. If you've never tried this rule out, give it a shot.
Be aware, especially if you're planning on it, you want to be aware of the restrictions, the requirements. You know, what does your main stat have to be? Right. What do you get afterwards? So what would be the best thing to take as your first level versus your next class? So that's always something to take into account.
Yeah, and so that brings up a really good point, because it says, you know, some players, they love to plan out their character.
Yeah.
They love, even if they've never, this campaign is never going to get anywhere near 20th level. They want to know what it would be like, and so they plot out their character. And particularly when you're dealing with multi-classing, that can be a real asset. If you want to make sure that you're talking about like a 3-level multi-class built around a couple of synergistic class abilities that you're trying to make for this character, you're going to want to make sure all the parts fit together and what it is.
Right.
While I think that that's a wonderful way to play the game, and I've done it plenty of times, there's something special about being like, oh, I gained a level. What am I going to use with that level? And multi-classing in a more ad hoc way.
Right.
So my character Zelo, that's what he did. I was planning on going full Arcane Trickster for most of it. The Sterling Vermin Adventuring Company came out with the Grey Guild Wizard, which I was like, gotta have that.
It was too perfect.
Too perfect. And then after that, I start looking at my options and going, okay, well, I could continue in Wizard, and eventually ended up with a Lore Bard because I wanted to get some more skills for him, and I liked the spell list of it better. Thought it was a better fit for him than a pure Wizard. And those were decisions I made every time I leveled up. I never planned it out. I never looked at it. Obviously had the stats to multi-class into those classes. But I didn't begin that character with the idea that he was going to be a rogue wizard bard.
Right.
He just became one through the course of the game. And so that's one approach to multi-classing, where you're just like, where is the campaign taking you?
Yeah.
No character survives contact with a campaign.
Right.
They're going, and vice versa. No campaign survives contact with characters. They're going to mold and fit. That's the beauty of the game.
Yeah.
So maybe you do a more ad hoc way.
Yeah, I mean, you might find that, you know, you really like the way this particular mechanic for this class works, and you're like, well, but I don't want to throw myself off the progress that I'm on, so maybe I won't multi-class. Maybe I'll save it till, like, you know, this thing doesn't progress anymore.
Yeah.
So you never know.
You never know.
And then sometimes you want to plan, like, the entire thing and it be completely ridiculous. Your brother has an amazing, and I want him to do this, and somebody out there should do it. Let us know.
Let us know how it goes.
But explain this character multi-classing concept.
So he wants to make a character that is all the levels in the game. First level guy.
Yeah, the adventurer class.
The adventurer class, yes. Take his first level. I forget which one he's starting with. I can't remember if he's starting with.
I wanted to think it was rogue. Just
might be starting with rogue for the skills, but he could be starting with another one for the saving throw proficiencies, and then just take one level in all the classes of the game. And then just see what happens at the end of that.
Right.
So
yeah, at least get one level of each class.
So he's going to have a ton of cantrips. A ton of first level magic. He'll actually have, if you're using the multi-classing spell rules, which you should, they make multi-classing casters not a total nightmare.
Yeah.
Then he's going to have higher level slots, but only first level spells.
Only first level spells. So that means you want to take spells that scale.
That scale, absolutely.
And then you'll have nothing but slots to cast all of your first level spells.
Cast all your stuff out of.
I mean, there's part of it, like, he did actually do a rough workup of, like, what he would start with, and you're looking at it, it's like, so if he was, like, 7th level, he would have this, and you're just looking at it like,
yeah, I think
might actually, like, last a little bit.
If it were me, they would be a Dex Charisma character, so everything else is at least 13. Dex and Charisma are going to be higher, just because I find Dex and Charisma characters get a lot of bang for their buck. There's going to be a lot of classes.
There's a lot of overlap, especially with the casters.
Yes, a lot of it. And then you can still wield a rapier or a ranged weapon and be effective in combat.
Have a good AC.
Have a good AC, good initiative. I don't think it would be as bad as it sounds initially, or like Mr. Saving Throw from 3rd edition, who was great at saving throws and sucked at everything else.
Yeah. Actually, I actually kind of did that with the Moon Druid.
The Moon Druid?
Yeah, well...
in 5th edition?
In 5th edition, yeah. There was that one-off where I basically played like Mowgli, except he was a Moon Druid that he shifted into all the animals that helped raise him.
Yes.
And the only feat, I never did an ability increase, I only did feat increases of resilience. So that I ended with proficiency in all saving throws, a little one bump to everything. And he was kind of badass. I mean, he never failed a saving throw, I don't think.
And I think this highlights something in 5th edition, that it is hard to make a bad character.
Like an arguably bad, you're going to die in the first adventure character?
Yeah, I mean, you could die in the first adventure. You got low number of hit points depending on your DM and what kind of adventure it is. If you're running Death House, I've heard it's pretty deadly. But if you're running something like the Mines of Phandelver, you're probably not going to. It's called the Death House.
I mean, what was Murder Mansion taken?
Right. So, fair warning.
Thank you, Jessica Jones.
So, I think that but I think that you can also sit down and you can take a weird idea like, I'm going to take one level in every class, show up to a table with that character, and it's like, yeah, people might look at you like, what? But at the same time, you're not going to be completely gimped.
Right.
Into the point where you are a detriment to the other players around you and they'll kick you out of the group.
See, I have another idea for a multi-class character, the Skill Monkey. It's only 3 classes.
Only 3 classes.
But you have to be a half-elven. Start with Rogue. Then you go Knowledge Cleric. Then you go Bard, Lore Bard.
Lore Bard,
Because that will make you end up with 14 skills.
Yes.
You go, what is it? You go 3 or is it 3 rogue?
2 rogue get you expertise, but then 3 would get you, say, mastermind abilities.
3 would get you I would say go 3.
Go 3.
You only need 2 for knowledge cleric.
Only need 2 for knowledge cleric.
Get those proficiencies.
And then at least 3 into bard.
And it also gives you the channel divinity.
Yes.
Which gives you the temporary
proficiency
in anything you don't have. And then you go knowledge or lore bard after that 15.
Yep.
And that will get you your 2 other expertise. So you'll have 3 expertise. So 6 expertise skills of your 14 skills of the 18 skills total.
And then if you wanted to, and you just wanted to get ridiculous, you could also go 2 into warlock, pick up the invocation that gives you proficiency in deception and persuasion.
Oh, Jim. So yeah, you don't need 15 levels of Lore Bard, do you? No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You only need 13 at the very least. And what could you get with those other 3?
So I mean, like,
this is the thing with multi-class.
This is the thing with multi-classing.
You can get lost in it.
You can really get lost in a rabbit hole. It's one thing to be like, okay, as an optimizer, I'm going to be a barbarian or a fighter, heavy armor, great weapon master, and a great sword. That's one way to optimize. And then there's this way, where you can look at it and go, can I get proficiency in every skill?
And so if you throw in the warlock to get those 2, then that would be 16 of the 18 regular skills. That doesn't include tools.
It doesn't include any tools, but you could 240 days and some gold, and you can learn a tool proficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I still kind of want to play the Skill Monkey character where he just, I know how to do that.
Yeah, I know how to do that.
Oh, you need me to open that? Sure.
I got you.
Well, actually, the history of this land, blah blah blah. And he would just be that guy that everybody would be like, oh, he's the know-it-all.
He's the know-it-all.
Yeah. Can he fight really well? He's all right.
It depends.
He knows which end of the blade to hold.
Right. Well, and he can fight all right if his attack stat's good and he sticks in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
He's probably a really good charisma caster, and so he's probably support caster, decent attack. But then outside of combat, he's your guy.
Yeah. No. You want a decent dex and a decent charisma for the bard warlock. Knowledge cleric. I mean, you don't need a crazy wisdom. But yeah, no, I think that would be a fun character to play.
So, I mean, those are the kinds of characters that you can end up with. You can also end up with the fighter, paladin, assassin who dishes out all the hurt on the first round of combat, and then, like a deflated balloon, has to go sit in the corner and get pumped back up.
Right.
So, I mean, those are the kinds of things that multi-classing brings you. Like I said, if you're a DM intimidated by it, there are some things you need to know.
Yeah.
Monsters are going to be less effective against multi-class characters.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if you pull out some weird combos. But there are also some predictable combos, 2-level dip of fighter, 3-level dip of assassin, that benefit a lot of classes, 3-level dip of sorcerer.
A 2-level dip of warlock if anybody wants to be sneaky and see in the dark.
See in the dark, yeah. So I think that there's, there are some classes where the dip is very attractive. Some DMs don't like that. So, I just try it, see if you like it. If not, maybe limit multi-classing in some way. Can only have a certain number of levels of one, or maybe some classes have to start at first level at them. But
or the old what was it the second edition where your main class had to always be higher than your.
That was the third edition rules for multi-classing that I
right.
don't think any of us ever. We took one look at those rules in third edition. We're like, yeah, I'm not playing with those.
Yeah.
That looks stupid.
I started as a projectionist, then I became a pharmacy tech, but I have to keep my projectionist.
Keep projectionist at a certain level, otherwise get an XP penalty.
Even though I've been a pharmacy tech for 16 years.
No, thank you.
Jesus Christ.
What's that?
I'm just looking at the
Catoblus.
Catoblus. Catoblibus.
Yeah. They've got Frogamoths and Catoblus.
But dude, just fucking DC 16 or be poisoned. If you're just within 10 feet of it. It has a death ray. Jesus Christ. Let's just make the craziest shit ever. Of course, finally they have cave fishers.
Cave fishers.
It's always one of my favorite fights with Drist.